to the Eldon House Kitchen. My name's Becca. Today I have another video for you from the Harris Family Cookbook. As with our previous videos, the cookbook I'll be referencing today is from the early 20th century, and the recipes inside were compiled both by the Harris family themselves and by various members of their household staff. Now today's video is a little bit different because it is a special occasion. This month marks Eldon House's 190th birthday. So we'll be celebrating that this month, and we're going to bake a little birthday cake today as a celebration. Eldon House was built in 1834 and housed 4 generations of the Harris family. As Eldon House staff, we're so very happy and grateful that this beautiful house is here, still standing, and that we're able to share such an important part of London's early history with you, our lovely visitors. Now today I'll be baking an orange cake. We chose an orange cake for a number of reasons. First of all, oranges were very expensive in the Victorian era. They were not very easy to acquire, so they were kind of a special occasion ingredient. And a special occasion, like a big birthday, needs a special ingredient. Plus, an orange cake just kind of sounds tasty. So before we get to the method, I'll quickly go over our ingredients in case you want to make your own little celebration cake at home. So for today, you will need about a half a cup of butter. So we've got a stick here. You will want to leave this out for a few minutes before baking so it becomes nice and soft for our next step. We'll also need 1 cup of sugar, 2 cups of flour, about a cup of raisins. You will want the rind from 1 orange. Save the juice of that orange as well for our next step. Similarly, for our next step, you'll need the juice of about half a lemon and some citron peel, but I'll get to that later. You'll also need 1 cup of sour milk. Now, this does not mean gone off milk or milk that's past its expiration date. Please don't use that. You can do one of 2 things. You can either simply go out and purchase buttermilk, or if you have just regular cow's milk at home, you can do 1 cup of that and then include a tablespoon of either vinegar or lemon juice. Put that into the milk, give it a stir, let it sit for 5 minutes, and then you have sour milk. So we've already done that process here today. You'll also need 1 egg, 1 teaspoon of salt, and, a quarter teaspoon of salt, and a teaspoon of baking soda. So next we'll get to actually assembling the cake batter. All right, so for our method today, the first step is to cream the butter and the sugar. So I've got our sugar in this big bowl here, and I have our stick of butter here. I'm just gonna sort of break it apart into it. You want to cream the butter and the sugar until the mixture is kind of light and fluffy and a pale yellow color. You can go ahead and do this the old-fashioned way if you would like, by hand. But to make things a bit easier today, I do have our electric mixer. Sorry about that. Once your butter and sugar are fairly well incorporated, for our next step, we're gonna add in our fruit. So we've got our raisins here, which are gonna go into that same bowl, and our orange rind. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and give that a little mix now before we add in our wet ingredients. So next we are going to add in a well-beaten egg. So just crack it into a separate bowl and give it a little beat with the fork before adding it. Once that's done, that goes in. And next we will add our sour milk and then give the wet ingredients a good mix as well. If you've still got any lumps, you can feel free to turn up the power here a little bit, or if you've got a bigger mixer, feel free to use that as well. All right, and lastly, go in our dry ingredients. So you want to take your flour, put that in, as well as your salt and baking soda. And now we're just going to mix and mix and mix until it becomes one well-formed piece of dough. All right, got a little bit of flour kind of stuck to the bottom, so I'm just going to take my hand mixer here and give it another good twirl. All right, looks like we've achieved a pretty good consistency, so it should be a pretty good dough texture, not too runny and not too thick. Now, in a moment, I'm going to put this into our baking pan here. I've got some parchment paper on the bottom to make sure it doesn't stick. Now, you may remember from our previous baking videos, whenever you're dealing with Victorian or Edwardian recipes in general, we aren't often given a lot of information about the baking process. So we aren't often told at what temperature to put it in or for how long. Our ovens now are mass-produced, pretty consistent in terms of their temperature, but that wasn't always the case. So it didn't always make sense to give a time or a temperature because it wouldn't be the same oven to oven. So in our case, we actually are given a time. It says 45 minutes. We've decided to put it in at 375 degrees. We'll try for 45 minutes, take it out, and we'll see. When we come back, I'll let you know exactly how long we baked it for. But until then, I'm just going to take this and portion it out into the pan here. Oh, before I do that, actually, an optional step. In the recipe, it says you can add citron peel. So we've gone out and purchased this today. Again, if you want to be very authentic, you can make this at home. It is a bit of a tedious process, however. You have to simmer water and sugar to make a syrup and then soak either orange and or lemon peel for a number of hours. If you're keener and you want to do that, amazing. Tag us on Instagram and show us your result. But for today, I'm just going to add in our previously purchased citron peel. All right, that's nice and incorporated. I'm going to go ahead and put it into our baking form. Just lay it out flatter. By this point, you should have something that looks a little bit like this. So we're gonna go ahead and put this in the oven, and I'll check back in with our cake and you viewers very shortly. All right, welcome back. So our cake is currently in the oven, getting all nice and toasty. While that's there, we're gonna make a special little glaze for on top of the cake. So for this, very simple, you'll just need 3 ingredients. So I have half a cup of sugar, half a lemon, and a whole orange. So I'm gonna take each of our citrus ingredients, squeeze the juice into the sugar, give it a good mix. Now, when the cake comes out of the oven, while it's still hot, you'll wanna take your glaze and pour it on top, give it a few minutes to really melt and soak in, and then we're done. So I'm gonna go ahead and squeeze this and give it a little mix. If you do get any seeds in, feel free to just pick them out. But we're pretty lucky with the seeds in this one. And the orange as well. once you've got all the juice out, you can just go ahead and mix it. It's best to do this a little bit early while the cake is still in the oven so that it has time for the sugar to melt a little bit and to let it really incorporate. So that's it, it's pretty simple. You should just have one very wet, citrusy, sugary mixture here. So once the cake is done, I'll come back and we'll pour this over the cake together. See you in a few. All right, welcome back. So we have our cake here, and might I say, it's looking pretty fabulous. It looks amazing. So we did end up baking it at 375 for about 45 minutes. So the time was pretty spot on. The last thing I'll do here is just take our glaze that we made before and just pour it on top. You don't have to be super neat with it. And then just take my spatula, make sure it's all across the top of the cake. And ideally you'd want to leave this to soak in for a few minutes before you serve it. There we go, and that is it. All right, so for our last finishing touches, we've put a few candles on here to help celebrate our 190th. We haven't lit them because we are in an old wooden house, but just imagine some flames coming out the top. If you are in London on September 29th, we invite you to come down to the house here. We will be hosting a proper celebration. So if you'd like to come and help us celebrate in style, we would be most appreciative. If you enjoyed the video, please don't forget to give the video a like and subscribe for more historical fun with the Harris family. Thank you so much for watching, and please let us know if you try out this cake and how it works for you. Until next time, bye!